Hi, Denise. It's so nice to have you as our Hub Highlights Artist Spotlight this week. How are you
That's
doing?
great. Thanks. I'm doing okay. Yeah, all's
Yeah,
good.
all is good?
hmm
Awesome. So before I get into my questions, can you tell our audience like a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Denise Leslie. I live in Clarkson, Mississauga. I've got 3 children. I have a dog, as you know, and I've been singing jazz since 2003, actually. And I've recently come out with an album, One Fine Morning, which we may talk about a little bit here, I guess.
Why did you choose like jazz music? What is it, your connection to it and your passion for it? Why is it important to you?
Well, jazz has been in my life forever. My father was a huge jazz fan, so it's something I grew up with. We used to dance to regular pop tunes in our basement in Scarborough, but we also danced to Benny Goodman and George Benson, Glenn Miller, and Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. So I think we're a little bit unusual in that respect, but it's just an art form that I grew to like. And one of the biggest things about it is the syncopation and jazz rhythms that seem to really resonate with me. And I've always been sort of a rhythmic person. I've always been a good dancer. Um, and I took to that really, really, really well. And then what kicked things off, I think, was I joined a choir while we were living out in Calgary. And I was the resident scatter. So I really worked on it. I got to have a built-in audience at every rehearsal we had every week, and really hone that skill. So it was great. So ever since then, I've been a jazz person.
So starting there, like in the choir, all the way up until now, what is like the most important that kind of moment that kind of stands out to you?
Probably preparing for woodshedding, writing, and everything leading up to, including my launch party for the album.
Mhm.
That's probably the
Mhm.
pinnacle.
Mhm.
And it all happened right before COVID, but that's okay. But no, I worked at it for quite a long time, and I couldn't put much more into it than I did, really, because I was a mother. I had 3 children, and this whole gigging thing didn't really start until, I had just had my third child. I really wanted to, once my kids were grown up, I really wanted
Mhm.
to raise the bar and bring more. I needed more challenge. You just get to a point where you want to challenge yourself. And I knew that there was an album in me, and this was it, One Fine Morning.
Can you talk a little more about like really getting into your like musical career like a little bit later on in life, like after you've had kids and after you got married and stuff? Like how was that like for you?
Yeah. Not always easy. As women, we do a lot of, as we were talking about before, we do a lot of
Yep.
juggling. And as I think I may have mentioned, I had a career in interior design. It was more on the
Mhm.
sales side of interior design, pre-marriage and pre-kids. So I had that. I started having children. I'm a bit of a dinosaur in that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was fortunate in that my husband was able to provide for us nicely to do that. Not everybody has that luxury, but that's what I decided to do. So it did make it difficult, although I kept at it and kept at it, and it became more than just a hobby. I tried to define it as just a hobby at first, but I got really good at it, Sherri.
Yeah, yeah.
I got really good at it, and I felt real good about it, and I knew I wanted it to be more than just a hobby. And as we all know, it doesn't pay very much, but that's the way it kind of goes. I'm hoping it will pay more now that I've come up with a album that's been well received, well reviewed. It's still got 3 tracks in rotation at Jazz FM, which is
Okay.
something I'm very proud of. And
Mhm.
it's gotten airplay elsewhere. CBC has given it some play, and Zoomer Radio, and some various stations in other countries internationally.
Let's talk about kind of the album and what it explain it a little bit more to our audience, and what are maybe some of your favorite songs you got to do for it?
Sure. I have a copy somewhere. Oh, I have a copy here. I have 2 copies, actually. I have the copy that Desi chewed up, which is that one. So anyway, let you get a bang out of that. But yeah, no, that's it right there. one fine morning.
Awesome.
And yep. And it was 3 years in the making, and it is reflective of me. Yeah, I wanted something joyous and something heartfelt, and I chose musicians very well, I think. I chose Bob McAlpine. He's a guitarist that's been in the business for decades. What he brought to the project was his pop know-how. What Pat Collins, another person who was in my little tribe, brought to the project was his jazz experience and his jazz know-how. So I had the best of both worlds, and that's what I wanted. That's where I sing. I sing right at the intersection of jazz, R&B, and rock pop. And we just woodshedded the tunes that I chose. I chose tunes from the 70s. The 70s are near and dear to my heart. That's the decade that I grew up in. That's the decade where I discovered music. And it was a time, I like to say, when music shone the most and it was at its riskiest. I think musicians back then were at their very, very, very best and their most creative. So that's what I like about it. And melody was first and foremost. People played instruments. Now I sound old, but that's what I like about the 70s. And so do my kids.
I'd like to get into now, because I know you have a live show coming up tonight. It'll be a few days ago when this comes out, but how are you excited for the live music to be returning now, that especially now that things are going to be opening up again? How do you feel?
Thrilled. I couldn't be more excited. Yes, I know digital is a thing. What we're doing right now, of course, is a necessity. And there are definitely some pluses to digital appearances and digital performing. But I think like live, is it? It's just not. I don't know. It's just, I like the communalness of it, if that's a word. I like being with other people, and just like being in a movie theater. I like being with other people and hearing reactions together as a group. I couldn't be happier, and live music is just to me, and hopefully to a lot of you, it's a beautiful thing, and we all need beauty in our lives.
I guess my last question for you is, what does the future look like for you? Are you hoping to do more live music performances? Do you have plans to do more songs? What does your future look like right now?
Yeah, well, I have plans to do an album, but first I think I might release, I've been writing some music. That's what tonight's gig is about. It's a singer-songwriter thing. And Joe is accompanying me, my son, Joseph Leslie. He's a very talented guitar player, 4th year at Humber. And so I've written a few tunes, and I plan to put them together on an album. And I'm actually collaborating with Bob McAlpine on those tunes again, which I'm thrilled to say. Heather and I are planning a little show. We haven't delved into the nitty-gritty of it, but we're planning to do something together. Heather and Christine, that is. I want to come up with another video. Reminiscing was a thrill for me, and a lot of fun doing that. I was very proud that we were able to push that out during COVID. But I'm going to release another song to help promote One Fine Morning, and I've signed with an agent too, so that's another big thing.
To wrap it up, can you let everybody know what your website and your social media handles are?
Sure, yeah. So I'm simply just at Denise Leslie Sings for Instagram. I don't really do too much on Twitter, but I'm there. I think it's Denise Leslie 15. And then Facebook, you just look me up, I'm there. And my main website is www.deniselesliesings.com. So the Insta and the website should pretty much cover off if you want to find out what I'm doing. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Yeah. I think that's everything. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we look forward to seeing all the exciting upcoming projects that you have.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. Thanks, Sherri.